child of the wandering sun. Have you ever tasted hunger so deep it gnaws at the bones of your ancestors? The village of Dzimbiri slept under a sky of burnt orange, where the air smelled of wood smoke and the sharp tang of overripe mangoes rotting in the midday heat. The road, wide, cracked, and thirsty, stretched like a serpent's spine through the market square. Here, the women balanced baskets on their heads, their laughter ringing like distant cowbells. But at the edge, where the shadows grew teeth, sat Adisa the cripple, his twisted leg folded beneath him like a broken branch. His stall was small, a wooden plank balanced on 2 stones, piled high with roasted maize, their golden skins glistening under a film of palm oil. The scent should have drawn crowds, but the villagers avoided him. They whispered that his maize was cursed. Adisa was not born bent. Once he had been a dancer, his feet drumming the earth so fiercely the elders said he could wake the dead. But the spirit of the road had claimed his leg the day he refused to pay its toll, a bowl of the first harvest. Now his back curved like a question mark, his hands rough as bark, his voice a rasping thing. Yet his maize, oh, his maize was the sweetest in Dzimbiri. One evening, as the market emptied and the crows began their nightly gossip, a stranger approached. Tall, wrapped in a cloak of blue smoke, his face hidden beneath the shadow of a wide-brimmed hat. "How much for your maize, cripple?" the stranger asked, voice slick as oil. Adisa's fingers trembled. No one called him by his trade. 2 cowries each, he muttered. The stranger laughed, a sound like dry leaves scraping stone. "I do not pay for food. I collect debts." And then Adisa saw it. The stranger had no shadow. "The scorpion does not beg the frog for passage," Adisa whispered, an old proverb rising in his throat. The stranger leaned close. "And yet the frog always drowns." He plucked a maize cob from the pile, his fingers leaving blackened streaks on the golden husk. "Tell me, cripple, why do you sell what you cannot eat?" Adisa's stomach clenched. It was true. He had not tasted his own maize in years. The stranger was Esu, the trickster, the collector of forgotten oaths. And Adisa had broken one. "You denied the road its tribute," Esu murmured. "Now your hunger feeds it." With that, he took a single bite of the maize, and the cob withered to dust in his grip. "Tomorrow," Esu said, "a child will buy your maize, and then you will remember." As the moon swallowed the sun, Adisa stared at his remaining maize, and for the first time he saw tiny teeth marks on every golden kernel. The road eats the silent traveler first. The wind carried the scent of fear that night, a metallic tang like blood drying on hot stone. Adisa the cripple clutched his remaining maize, his fingers tracing the tiny teeth marks left by unseen mouths. The stranger's words coiled in his mind like a serpent. "Tomorrow, a child will buy your maize, and then you will remember." Dawn came slow and heavy, the sky bruised purple as if ashamed of what the day would bring. The market square, usually alive with bartering voices and the slap of bare feet on dust, was too quiet. Even the flies avoided Adisa's stall. Then she appeared. Naya was 7 rains old, her laughter like river water over smooth pebbles. She skipped to Adisa's stall, her yellow dress fluttering, her palms outstretched, 2 cowries glinting in the morning light. "Mama says I can buy one," she chirped. Adisa's throat tightened. "Child, today is not—" But Naya's eyes were already locked on the maize, her small fingers brushing the golden husks. And then, a whisper from the kernels. Not in words, but in hunger. Naya bit into the maize. A normal child would chew, swallow, lick the salt from her lips, but Naya stopped. Her eyes widened, her jaw clenched, and then crunch. Not the sound of maize breaking, the sound of bone. Adisa lunged, knocking the cob from her hands. It hit the dirt, and the kernels writhed, tiny black worms squirming beneath the golden skin. Naya blinked. It tasted like Papa's voice. "What did you say?" Adisa rasped. Naya tilted her head, her smile fading. "Papa's gone, but the maize..." It sounded like him, like when he sang to me at night. Adisa's heart turned to stone. The maize wasn't just cursed, it was alive with memory. Asu's warning slithered back. "You denied the road its tribute." Adisa had once been a dancer. The road demanded a bowl of his first harvest, a gift to the spirits who paved his path, but he had refused, greedy for profit. Now his maize was feeding on the lost. Every kernel held a voice, a laugh, a cry, a final breath of those who had vanished on the road. And when eaten, the eater heard them too. Naya reached for another cob. "No!" Adisa grabbed her wrist and her skin burned, searing his palm like fire. She giggled. "The voices like you, Uncle. They say you owe them." Then, before his eyes, Naya's shadow stretched too long, her fingers curling into claws. The market women screamed. Naya was gone. Only her yellow dress remained, crumpled in the dust, and a single half-chewed cob humming a lullaby. That night, Adisa dreamt of a great feast. At the table sat every villager who had ever bought his maize. Their mouths were full. Their eyes were empty. And at the head of the table, Naya licked her lips. The dead eat first at the table of the guilty. Adisa woke to the taste of copper in his mouth. His own teeth had bitten through his lip as he slept. The dream still clung to him. Naya at the feast, her small fingers plucking ice from the villagers' plates like ripe berries. Outside his hut, the drum spoke in the sharp tongue of mob justice. The air smelled of burning palm oil and fury. The villagers marched with machetes glinting like the fangs of a starved beast. Their torches painted the night in streaks of bloodlight, and their chants shook the Baobab trees. Witch, debt-payer, child-eater. Adisa limped to his stall, his twisted leg dragging through the dust. His maize lay uncovered, the kernels pulsing faintly in the dark. At the front was Baba Kwesi, Naya's grandfather, his face carved with grief deeper than tribal scars. Beside him stood Imani the healer, her beads rattling like snake bones. "You fed our children memories of the dead," Kwesi roared. "Now you will swallow your own curse." Adisa opened his mouth to plead. Then the maize moved. A cob rolled off the stall. Then another. Then dozens, tumbling like loyal soldiers to form a wall between Adisa and the mob. The kernels split open, and from each husk poured black smoke, thick as ink, forming shapes. A man with no eyes, a woman singing a dirge, a child holding its own severed hand, the hungry shadows, all those lost to the road. Imani stepped forward, her voice trembling. "Spirits of the forgotten, what do you want?" The shadows answered in unison, a chorus of 100 stolen voices. "We were the first to eat his food. Now you will be the last." Baba Kwesi raised his machete. A shadow child leapt, its form solidifying into Naya's grinning face. "Grandfather," she whispered, "why did you never listen when I spoke?" Kwesi froze. The real Naya had said those words the day before she vanished. Imani's beads shattered, the seeds rolling into patterns only a diviner could read. "The road demanded tribute," she gasped. Adisa refused, so it took payment another way. Every maize cob Adisa ever sold was a contract. The first bite fed the road, the second fed the dead, the third fed the eater to them. The mob lunged, the maize exploded. Kernels became teeth, husks became claws, and the hungry shadows swallowed. Men screamed as their own weapons turned against them, machetes slicing their owners' arms, torches igniting their clothes. Adisa watched, horrified, as the stall consumed Babakweshi. The old man's last words were muffled by golden husks. "Naya, I'm sorry I didn't hear you." Then silence. The shadows retreated. The maize lay still, now fat and glistening, as if fed by the feast. Adisa fell to his knees. From the dirt, a single cob rolled into his palm. It whispered, "You are the last customer." When the knife cuts both hands, the handle is made of guilt. The cob in Adisa's palm grew roots. Thin, black tendrils slithered into his veins, pulling him toward the eastern road, where no village stood, where the trees whispered in languages older than man. The maize had spoken truth. He was the last customer, and his payment was due in full. The air here stung, not with heat, but with the salt of 1,000 dried tears. The ground was paved not with earth, but with crushed cowrie shells, each one a debt unpaid. Before him loomed the spirit market, a shifting maze of stalls. A woman fried dough that screamed when dipped in oil. A child sold sugar-dusted scorpions on sticks. An elder ladled soup that swirled with faces. And above them all, watching from a throne of charred corn husks, sat Esu. Esu's smile cut like a rusted blade. Adisa the cripple, or should I say, Adisa the merchant. Around him, other vendors knelt, men and women Adisa recognized. The yam seller from Abuagia Junction, the peanut hawker from Kumasi's shadow alleys. All of the missing eyes, fingers, tongues, the parts they'd paid when their debts came due. "Welcome," Esu purred, "to the first and last marketplace." Adisa's voice was raw. "I didn't know," Esu laughed, and the sound made Adisa's teeth bleed. "The road does not care about knowing." He snapped his fingers. The market rippled, revealing the truth. Every street vendor's food was alive with memory. The fried dough, last breaths of choked men. The sugar scorpions, stolen laughter of children, and Adisa's maize. The voices of those who vanished on journeys. "You thought you sold food?" Esu leaned close. "You sold time, a bite for the road, a bite for the dead, a bite for... well," he gestured to Adisa's leg. Adisa clutched his chest. "How do I end it?" Esu's grin widened. "Two choices, cripple." He held out a rusted scale. One side, a single maize kernel. Other side, a beating heart. Adisa's own. Feed the road its due, or become its new collector. Imani the healer had been right. The road was alive, an ancient thing that fed on broken promises. Long ago, vendors made pacts. Give the first fruits to the road and prosper. Refuse, and your food becomes its tax collector. Adisa had broken the oldest rule. Now, the road wanted final payment. Esu snapped again. The market twisted, and Adisa stood back in Dzimbiri at his stall. But now, the villagers lined up, their eyes glassy, their mouths watering. "One last sale," Esu whispered in his ear. "Feed them all, and your debt is cleared." Adisa looked down. His hands were pulling his own ribs apart, shucking them like corn husks to reveal glistening red kernels beneath. The villagers licked their lips. As the first customer reached for his chest, Adisa made his choice. He ate his own heart first. The mouth that feeds lies will chew its own tongue. Adisa's teeth pierced his own heart, and the world split open. The taste was not blood, but memory. His mother's lullabies, his first dance steps, the exact weight of the bowl he should have offered the road. The villagers gasped as his body collapsed into husks, then reformed at the crossroads. The spirit market was gone. Only the road remained. an endless, hungry mouth paved with the bones of dishonest vendors. Above, vultures circled in lazy spirals, their shadows stitching Adisa to the earth. Esu stood before him, but now his cloak was woven from living maize silk, his hat a nest of crawling worms. "Clever cripple," he murmured, "you ate your debt before it could eat you." Adisa looked down. His crippled leg was whole, but his shadow, it stretched too long, ending in rows of jagged teeth. "What am I now?" Adisa whispered. Esu laughed. "What you always were, the road's dancer, only now you dance for it." He snapped his fingers. Suddenly, Adisa remembered every soul his maze had consumed. Naya's laughter trapped in kernel hash 47, Baba Kweshi's final sigh in husk hash 12, the 219 others whose names even their families had forgotten. Their voices sang through his veins. Esu pressed a wooden bowl into Adisa's hands, the same one he'd refused to fill years ago. "Now you walk the world," Esu said, collecting what vendors owe. A kernel from every dishonest sale, a memory from every tainted bite. Adisa's new shadow gnashed its teeth in anticipation. But then, a whisper from the maize silk in Esu's cloak. Or, break the chain. Adisa turned to the road itself. "What if I pay differently?" The ground rumbled. "There's only one currency." "No," Adisa said, pulling a single golden kernel from his chest, the last uncorrupted seed. "There is truth." He knelt and planted it in the road's mouth. For the first time in eternity, the road screamed. The kernel grew, not into maize, but into a tree of living fire, its roots tearing through. Every cursed food stall, every lie-fed recipe, every unpaid debt, Esu howled as his cloak burned, revealing his true form. Not a god, but the first vendor who ever cheated the road. "You fool," he spat. "Now no street food will ever be safe." Adisa smiled. "Good." The fire tree's branches scorched the sky, writing in ash, "What you buy cheaply, you pay for dearly." Across the world, a fried dough vendor's oil turned to water, a kebab seller's meat sprouted feathers, and every dishonest bite revealed its true taste. The road would never starve. But now, so would no one else unknowingly feed it. Adisa stood at the crossroads forever after, neither man nor spirit, his shadow tasting the wind for new lies. Travelers would bring him maize, and if their hands were clean, he'd dance the safe path for them. But to those who asked why he still lingered, he'd only say, "Because some hungers must never be fed." When buying food from shadows, pay in sunlight, or become the price. This is why elders say always ask who cooked your meal and what they cooked it with.